I'm going to share with you an American story. It's your story and mine. It's about me being born in this country, being an American, and about a disastrous turn that we as a nation took at a critical moment in our collective history. We'll examine one of the darkest episodes in our country's past and see how this same event eventually came to be one of the brightest, most shining moments in our American story. I'll share personally and put it in the context of the experiences of a whole people interned because we happen to look like the enemy. We'll see how the internment came about, examine its historical roots, and consider how our government took the drastic measure of removing all persons of Japanese ancestry from the West Coast, based on a lie. For some of you, parts of this story may be familiar. I hope by the time I'm through, all of it will be familiar. I'll end with considering the implications for us today and visit the question, could this happen again? I begin by introducing you to the primary players in this drama. My mother, Yoriko Ann Nagai, born in 1911 near San Jose, California. Her parents had immigrated to the San Francisco Bay Area from Tokyo several years before. My dad, Ben Noriaki Nagai, born in 1904 in Hiroshima, followed his parents to the Bay Area in 1917 and attended school to learn enough English, then left to help support his family. My parents were married in an arranged marriage in 1931 and settled on a farm just outside of Atwater, California, a small farming community in the San Joaquin Valley, an hour north of Fresno. My sister was born in May of 1932. I was born in January of 38, and my younger brother was born in December of 39. Following Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, we were forcibly removed from our family-owned farm in May of 42 to the Merced County Fairgrounds, where we were temporarily housed in livestock pens. Our stay was in the middle of the California summer, when temperatures often reached triple digits. So think horse stalls and 100-degree heat. In August of 42, we traveled by train to Granada, Colorado, where the War Relocation Authority had established Camp Amache in the southeastern corner of the state. My mother was born in California, so being held behind barbed wire as an American was devastating. Anti-Japanese laws prohibited my dad from becoming a citizen, and for him being imprisoned was equally painful. Both felt deep embarrassment and shame over being jailed, and with a sense of betrayal by their government, disappointment and hurt over their loyalty being questioned, and disillusioned at the loss of their freedoms. In spite of this, neither passed along negative feelings or attitudes to us kids about their treatment by their parent country. And this was significant in the formation of my character. Here's my family in camp, mom and dad, my sister, that's me in my Navy uniform, and my younger brother. My youngest brother was born in camp, and mom and dad referred to him as the GI baby, government issue. That's mom's bit of gallows humor from camp. My sister was 10 at the time, and for her, camp was deeply traumatic. Being older, she understood about the war and what was happening to our family, what it meant to be behind barbed wire. She too felt embarrassment and shame for Pearl Harbor, but she was most upset having to leave all of her school friends. I was 4, and for most younger children, it was an exciting, though innocent time, like being in an extended day camp. I started school in camp, so this was a pretty important time for me. We had a black metal stove for heating, and one of my chores was to get coal from the bin at the end of the mess hall building. Mom did laundry by hand in deep cement wash tubs, using a glass-ribbed washboard and bars of ivory soap. She hung the clothes on lines strung across the apartment during the winter and out back in warmer weather. My family of 5 lived in a single room, 20 feet by 24, and we hung ropes and sheets as dividers to give some sense of privacy. For any child growing up anywhere, there are always parental admonitions, and in camp there was one especially I took to heart without question. Don't go near the fence. I was told if I did, the guards would shoot me. This is my Aunt Kimmy and my cousins during one Christmas, and that's my Uncle George in the photo. Each Sunday, she read the funnies to the kids in our 2 families while we sat at her feet, and we heard about the war in Europe, where my uncle was with the 442nd Regimental Combat Team in Italy. I remember the Blue Star flag in the window of my aunt's apartment, a source of pride for our families. My dad was considered an enemy alien, so was prohibited from serving in our armed forces. But because many of the restrictions surrounding the internment were relaxed soon after camp opened, he was granted a pass and served what to him was his patriotic duty on a farm in Nebraska, filling the void left there by the local men away in the war. In December of 1944, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the convictions of Gordon Hirabayashi, Fred Korematsu, and Minoru Yasui for defying the evacuation order were justified within the context of a nation at war. I'll come back to this in a moment. Camp Amache was formally closed not quite a year later, on October 15th of 1945, and my family returned to Atwater by train soon after. We were welcomed at the station by the Bank of America president and 2 neighbors. As our train pulled into the station, Mom and Dad shielded us from signs with messages like this. Peer pressure and wanting acceptance are very powerful forces, especially within any minority population, where acceptance by the majority means that we're making it. When my mom and dad settled in Atwater in 1931, they were welcomed by the Methodist minister, who told them that they would have to give up their Buddhist religion and become Christians, or the people wouldn't accept them. So they became good Methodists. Mom served on various committees at the church, served as the PTA president for many years, and both were active in agricultural associations. Mom was also a Cub Scout den mother. Immediately after the war, at the request of the commander of the nearby Strategic Air Command base, she counseled airmen who had returned from the war with Japanese war brides, helping them to make adjustments in a culture where mixed marriages weren't all that common or accepted, especially with a Japanese spouse. Though nothing was ever said directly in our upbringing, virtually everything we did was to ensure our acceptance as Americans. For a period from early grade school till I was in high school, I refused to use my middle name, Hideaki, because I thought it sounded too Japanesey, yet was not troubled by the use of my family name, Nagai, which was obviously Japanese. The fact that my youngest brother, born in camp, was given an American middle name, Charles, was for a reason. The rest of us had Japanese middle names, but we were born before Pearl Harbor. In our living room, we had an American and California state flag. A large wood carving by my grandfather hung on the wall of an American eagle with an American flag in one talon and a clutch of arrows in the other, its wings outspread, with the Capitol dome in the background. There were crocheted doilies on the backrests of sofas with such words as "In God We Trust" and "God Bless America." and our family Bible with a leather cover decorated with an American flag rested on the coffee table. Walking into our home, you would have thought it a typical American home in post-war America. I always thought of it as a 200% American home.